Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you and welcome to our amazing interview today with Willow Griffith. She is joining us from West Virginia in the US, and we are so happy and honoured to have you here today, Willow. I'd also like to say thank you to my beautiful friend Yvonne Mackett from Perth in Western Australia. I am Narelle Walk-On from Mackay, Queensland, Australia, and we together are the Onpassive Aussie Girls, and our counterpart, a Kiwi guy, Kenton Patterson in New Zealand. So thank you, Yvonne. I'll take it over to you.
Thank you, Narelle. Hi, Willow, our fairy godmother. How are you?
I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, it's lovely to have you. Willow, can you just explain a little bit about who you are, where you're from, your family, and just what you do?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm sure that everybody knows that I am from West Virginia because I talk about it all the time, but I'm not native to West Virginia. I was born and raised in California. I have my children, my older children are in California, and my two younger are here in West Virginia with me in our area. I am a mother. I'm a psychologist. I'm so many labels they hang on me. I'm a spiritual counselor, and I have been for years. And I've had many jobs that are interesting for women. I was a correctional counselor in an institution for men, California Institution for Men, penal institution for men. I worked for the Department of Defense for 23 years or 25 years, somewhere around there. And so I've had a real varied career. I always was out for the money because I had too many kids. I couldn't support them. So men had better jobs, like truck driving jobs, and I got secondary jobs were truck driving. I used to drive a liquor truck, and I had more fun with that truck till I ran over a Volkswagen and I got in trouble. But I did a lot of things in the workforce because women were not paid well, even for the state of California. When I went to work for the state of California, I don't think I cleared $500 a month when I first started. So we did what we had to do, to survive. And so I put myself through college, working. I went to school while I worked. And so it took me a little longer than I expected, but I was very fortunate because at that time, when I worked for the state of California, they let us go to classes during the day. We could take off some afternoons and some in the middle of the day. And so I got a lot, and I challenged a lot of the classes at the college. And in those days, I still think you can do it. If you could pass the test, you didn't have to attend the classes, So I'd go buy the books from the bookstore and I'd cram and I'd go in and I'd take the test. And so I would get credit for that class. And that's how I got through a lot of college, things that you don't want to do anyway. They're boring prerequisites to graduate.
Wow.
But I have been going to school all my life. I don't know how not to go to school because I love it. Yeah. And like I say, right now, I have been a counselor for battered women for almost 20 years. And I talk on a daily basis with women that are abused and left out kind of in the dark, in the cold. And as far as the job market goes, most of them don't have an education enough to go out and compete in the real world and get jobs at McDonald's and whatever, but they don't have the sheepskin in order to get a good competitive job. And so I try to help them the best I can in the importance of at least, taking online classes. That's why I'm so excited about Academy. Everybody hears me, I go on and on and on about that. But it's because of the women that I deal with. And, I was telling you earlier that I took a lot of jobs while I was working in the workforce that men did, and like the correctional counsel, because it paid 3 times the amount of money that jobs women could get. I did the stenographer bit, and I still do. I still use shorthand at home, but I never made enough money to get by. And so now even educated women find they're paid less than their counterparts, the males in the business. And so they went into the trades during my time, like, carpentry. And I had a lot of friends that were running a wire for utility companies and because in plumbing, And so I got to know a lot of people in the trades, and a lot of the women that I know that are undereducated can go into the trades. They can get their certifications easier and make a living. And so I've become very familiar with both the jobs that are available for women in the trades and those that are in corporate America.
Wow.
So
that's
that kind of answers.
that's a lot that you've certainly done, but we do understand that, and you have shared with us that you're 81 years old. And so congratulations for everything that you have done. And, the roles that you do play, the mother, the grandmother, the probably the sister and the auntie and the daughter and, all of those things. And also then in work, they're big roles to play, but they certainly bring lots of experience with each and every one of them to get you where you are today. So we just want to bring it over to Onpassive for a little bit. What did you see? What is it that you saw in Onpassive? Because at 81 years old, most people are looking, forward to just sitting at home, watching the TV, maybe going and playing a little bowls or, down to bingo or something like that. They're chilling out, mate. They're chilling out at that age. And we just want to know if you can share with our guests, what is it that you saw at your age, firstly, about Onpassive, and why do you think it will help you?
Oh my God, it's a godsend. My husband had a stroke, and we've been married since Methuselah. We're joined at the hip. We got all these kids. And
how many children?
5 of our own natural. We raised 4 others that were my girlfriend. She died of cancer, and so they were so used to living with us anyway. They just moved in permanently, and they're still my babies.
Yeah.
But my husband had a stroke and a heart attack just before Onpassive. Well, he was really interested in Onpassive before me, along with my son. And I kept saying, no, I don't know. I tried all the MLMs years ago, and I said, never again. Melaleuca, all of those kind of MLMs. And I said that they're a hassle. I don't want any part of them. So they kept nagging me. Well, I had this vision, and I forgot to add, a lot of people don't know, they labeled me also psychic, and I have, that's what I mean by a spiritual counselor. That's exactly what I am. Anyway, I had this vision one night in a dream of a man coming into the world and making great, huge changes in the workplace. And I kept seeing him in my mind's eye and in my mind's eye. And so finally my son said to me, Mom, I want you to go and listen to him just one time. So at the beginning of Onpassive, he would come out and he was just like gangbusters, and we were all so fascinated with him. And I was, when I saw him, I said, there's that man, I know him. And I said, sign me up, Jason, I'll get in, because I knew I knew him before I knew him, if that makes any sense at all. You know, it does it to a lot of people that are not psychic, but I see it like I know you, Narelle, and we've known each other in other lifetimes. So there's a connection that you get with people that you automatically know. Well, I knew Ash and Ash's heart from the very first time that I talked to him. And I was sold, you know. And so there's been a lot of ups and downs in Onpassive. And we, at the beginning, we didn't think it was going to be this size, or we didn't have any clue that it was going to explode on the map like it has. But, you know, not that I'm complaining, because I'm not, but it has been like, marketing in itself is not something that I am very schooled in. I do know, I knew the process, but Ash is a mastermind at it. I mean, he's an absolute master. He can draw you in like the Pied Piper, you know. And so I realized that, and I thought for a while I'd get real disillusioned at the beginning. And then after we found out what his vision really encompassed, I kept having many little visions about him in my sleep state or my meditative state, because I always meditate 2 or 3 times a day. And so it would show me the scenes I'd get would be him in different places around the world. So I knew that his business was going to be really, really huge, you know, something we didn't know. So I just kept hanging on and waiting. So when he finally unrolled it out to us, though, and we saw his heart, I was sold. That I've never looked back since. I've never regretted it. I never regret meeting all the lovely people I've met. And some, well, that's a lie. Some are, you know, like everybody else you meet in the world. You know, I have a way that if I don't care for you, I just don't have anything to do with you. You know, I don't get involved with you. But it's kind of hard in this type of business where you have to interact with people where you kind of got misgivings about, you know. But I'm also a believer that when you dwell on things that are ugly, ugliness will come to you, you know. And recently I've been rereading some material from Masaru Emoto about water and how ugly thoughts affect the water in your body, because we're about 70% water, and how it imprints you. And I see a lot of people that just welcome negativity all the time. And it's so unhealthy. That's where illness comes. And I never realized it for many years, you know, that my own self-talk was more destructive to me than anything. Absolutely. But I learned a lot through just being alive. And I've been really fortunate in Onpassive meeting some of the really great ones. And they have affected me psychically and intuitively, you know. And a lot of them are like Marty DeGarmo. Oh, I love Marty. And there's a reason behind that. This is the man that's had decisions that he had to make with his own family that have been critical and crucial. And he's given up a great part of his life for other people all his life, you know. And so I just think he's the best thing since Cheerios, you know. I love him.
Well, here in Australia, we say the best thing since sliced bread. And you're absolutely right. Marty DeGarmo has a beautiful heart. And as I've always said, the heart of our CEO, Mr. Ash Mafara, certainly has come down and spread amongst those. And yeah, you're right, Willow, you're going to get the negative Nellies, but they're the ones that fall by the wayside, because if we don't buy into the negatives, we stay positive. It is a huge movement within Onpassive, the family that has come together and united together all over the world, globally, 212 countries, is truly amazing. That's come from one man, a wife.
What I find, no prejudice. There's not. It's not prevalent in an organization of 1 million people, and you don't find that kind of prejudice, even against women. The way there's a little bit of that, where we get put in our place. And then I want to say, okay, this is testosterone city. Here I come, but we don't get the prejudice, and I'm just celebrating that in my heart.
And I think Willow too, sorry, Yvonne, I just wanted to say this off of my head, was that I think it's because, in Onpassive, there's no selling and recruiting. So we're not pitting against each other. We're not competing. We don't have to compete. We just amazing people who've joined an amazing company, and together we want to help each other. Now, I just want to go back, because there is one thing that you mentioned, and that was Melaleuca. Now, I just want to put a disclaimer in here. There is nothing here in our interview today that is discrediting any other company. I think what Willow was talking about was basically the platform that these companies use are old technology. Melaleuca itself is an amazing company. They have amazing
I still
products.
use all their products, so
Me too.
I just would not go out and sell them anymore.
No, and the thing is, with those, it is hard to sell, because those other companies, those other platforms, MLMs, they call them, online marketing, they do pit each other against each other. They're out there dog eat dog worlds, in a sense, because you do have to sell, you do have to recruit. And guess what? Every year there's new products coming out all the time. Some of the older companies are still there, as in Melaleuca, Amway, Avon, those sort of companies are still available, or those products. However, there are new ones coming out, particularly around the health industry, because it's such a big multi-billion-dollar platform with health these days. But I'm just going to hand over. I just wanted to say that, sorry, I needed to put that disclaimer.
I'm glad you did. I didn't think about that. I was talking about MLMs in general. I just
no, that's absolutely fine, Willow. So I'll take it over to Yvonne, and Yvonne can ask your next question.
Yeah, thank you. Willow, have you been online working before you come across Onpassive? Never. So you've never worked online?
No, I do all my appointments, though I do use Zoom and have used Zoom for a long time. And because I can record our conversations and give them to my clients, and that works very good. And I had a program called Charm that I could do podcasts with, because I worked on Blog Talk Radio also and I still am there, but we just took a little hiatus because of Onpassive really moving so rapidly. So both my girlfriend and I, we're getting hate letters if we don't come back pretty soon. They're going to really get on us, But I've done podcasts, but not one-on-one like we do on Zoom. Like even on Zoom with my clients, when you get into the type of counseling I do, it distracts them if they see me or I see them, because they're trying to hide anyway, and it's distraction. So we don't even use the cameras then. So Julie and Milo kind of pulled me into it, kicking and screaming. I thought, nobody wants to see an 81-year-old woman out there, But then I kind of got over that, and I thought, maybe I have something to offer that will help someone, especially women. And so, it's not that I don't like my male counterparts. God, don't misunderstand me. I don't want to get in trouble there either. I absolutely adore them, and everybody, like I say, Marty DeGarmo and all of them, and Eric and Paul, and they're all fantastic. However, if I had to do anything at all, and I am planning on what I'm going to do once Onpassive launches, it's going to be involving women who can't get jobs and have to take care of children, and the elderly women that have no place to go because their husband left them for somebody new and they're stuck. And we're going to build tiny homes for retirement, purposes.
So just
yeah.
going on from that, Willow, one of my questions is, so what platform in Onpassive, what tool stands out for you the most, and why do you want to, why is it a standout for you?
Well, I have many, because I worked for the Department of Defense, and when computers were like, took up a whole room, one computer with vacuum tubes, and I was a specialist there, software specialist. So I'm really fascinated with software. And so all of them are, make my heart sing. But if I was going to pick a few, it would be OConnect and OBless and OAcademy. And then there's the ODit and the OCreate. I can go on.
This goes on and
well,
on.
I like to do post, on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I used to try to use Microsoft software, and I hate it. Oops, there I go again. I have Microsoft.
You dislike.
But then I got Canva, and I tried that because I like to make memes and out there. And so when Ash said, ODit, no create, and all of that, we were going to have such flexibility that it'll work with our OConnect will work with all of the other software. I was just through the moon. I could hardly wait. I have friends that are teachers that are just waiting for OAcademy because they have things to, they're not going to be going in and earning the income that they've been earning while catching COVID. Let me tell you, there's a lot of them are not going back to teaching anymore. And we're losing this magic of good teachers, and they can get on OAcademy, teach across the whole country, and develop their own curriculum. Like a lot of people are doing that, like co-op teaching for their children. They have homeschooling in a co-op type of situation. And I have friends that have started in Kentucky because their school system is not that great for kids. So they found out that they could provide a better education with teachers, and they have about 17 in their co-op, and they each share, they take them to special places. And it's one girl graduated like I did from college. Went into college when she was 14 with honors, mind you, and she graduated in 3 years, and she was totally homeschooled. So I think we're gravitating toward that for the safety of our children, and because they've taken everything out of education that was valuable to me, art and literature, and even home ec. We used to have home ec. We learned to cook, and it wasn't just girls, it was girls and boys. A lot of the kids I grew up with, we learned. And I remember my home ec teacher, she was wonderful. And to this day, she would just hug you, you disappear into her, she'd grab you, she was so good. But I think that we're going to go, and Onpassive is going to open the door to people to educate their own children in a very, very big way. And a lot of battered women can't put their children back in school for fear of harm coming to the mother and the children. And so they're looking for a way. They don't have an education, but if there's a platform out there they can utilize, they'll not only learn, but their children will too.
Yeah.
And so I'm really, really excited about OAcademy, and I can see how I'm going to use it.
I think I think, Willow, with the schooling, particularly public schooling, I know over here in Australia, I'm not quite sure over there. I do have friends over there. But what they did was they, because it was public schooling, they started to fill the classes up. So once upon a time where they might have had 15 to 20 students to teach to one teacher, or plus a teacher's aide, now they've got 30 odd children, you know, and it's just far too much. And those who are lacking a little bit in learning skills are falling through the cracks, and they're not picking them up, and they're the ones being left behind. And I think, you know, when you talk about Academy like that, there's a lot of people out there, I know, in all countries in the world, who are looking at being able to provide their children with the best education. And I know Academy will do that because it has the qualifications of, like yourself and those teachers that, you know, I have teachers in my family in Christian schools, and the education within Christian schools or private schools, not just Christian schools, but private schools, is more available to the children, and they don't have those slipping through as much. They probably still do to an extent, but because it's all funding and things like that. But the public schooling is horrendous. You know, it really is, you know, that crash hot.
They started cutting back on things that, you know, our soul needs art and literature, and our kids need to have theater in their lives, and all of those things. And when I was going to school, I was in band, and I took music, and I had art, and we had everything, you know, because it was a better education system then. It's not there anymore, period. It's just not there.
They learned how to sew, you know, you learned how to cook, you learned how to do things that were going to stay with you as you went into adulthood. You know, when you first left home, you knew that you could at least cook, you know, scrambled eggs or some vegetables or something like that. You knew how to sew a button back on, you know, to your shirt and things like that. You knew how to iron, even though that wasn't necessarily taught at school. Those were things that were taught in the home, because, like you said, a lot in that older range were home with their children, and they were taught how to do things, you know. So
you don't have geography or history, do you?
No,
you know,
in Australia,
kids even to take care of a checkbook in college.
Yeah,
you teach them nothing like that in college. You pay all this money for college, and they don't even know how to manage their own checkbook. My sister, husband, died. We had to go and teach her how to get her money out of the bank. You know, she didn't know how to do it. She just depended on him to do it all for her. You know, and so our kids. I didn't let my kids grow up like that. I'm sorry to say. They had to take care of themselves, and they had to know how to do it and how to protect themselves in crises, you know?
Yeah.
So I think Academy is going to open doors like we just didn't even think about. And it's going to go hog wild. It's going to, I kind of went over what you wanted me to say, but still, O Connect and O Academy are probably my top two, and O Bless, you know, because
you've spoken about Academy, and that's really lovely that you expanded on that, because a lot of us, you know, one of our favorites is O Bless. And, you know, it's nice to sort of have that expansion, particularly from a female, you know, to talk about Academy and what it can do for you. And also those ladies that you are helping, and also those ladies in your age group, you know, because it's okay for the young ones to say, oh, yeah, whatever, you know, I know how to do this and I know how to do that. And there's Zoom and everything's done. But for those even from my generation, a little bit beyond that, it really is something that takes a lot to learn. And when people have the patience, because when young ones are teaching you, it tends to be like, well, don't know why you can't get it sort of thing. You do this, this, and this, and it's done. But if you've got older teachers, you know, if you have those more mature with experience of computers or experience with anything, even with any sort of teaching, then there's going to be a big array of people. There's a big crowd searching for that sort of thing out there, you know. So if somebody
I can hardly wait.
You know,
and you can choose your teachers. You can choose those, because there's going to be so many online.
I teach spirituality and also for people that have psychic abilities. I'm a synesthete, And so I see the world differently than a lot of people. And the people that are like me, it's a generational thing. It happens in families, especially Irish and Native American mixed synesthetes show up every other generation. And what they do is they turn their, like I taste words, sounds of words. If I have a taste, that I pick up. And I want to teach people that this is a normal thing. There's a lot of people out there. 17% of us are what we call highly super sensitive. And it's in the animal world too. There's about 17 to 20% are considered the super sensitive. So there are things that they need to know that are coming out that we can teach.
Yeah, absolutely.
To the ones that throw rocks at other people, we can teach them, no, there's a big variety of differences.
Absolutely. And one of the good things about that, Willow, is that it's going to be able to be translated in, I think it's about 20 languages with Onacademy.
Yes.
There's 57 languages through the OConnect, which is our Zoom platform. But I think there's about 20 different languages with Onacademy. So can you imagine, anyone in any country in the world other than English speaking who are able to connect and still learn from those people that they resonate with, and do it in their own language? How simple is that going to be?
And in their own homes, where they don't have to be embarrassed if they don't catch on as fast as everybody else. They can go back and play the same course over and over and over again until they get it.
And they've got the choice of about 130,000 different, 130,000 adding all the time. So it's crazy. It's
wonderful.
Ginormous. But
now we're going to close to sorry,
can I just ask one more thing?
Willow? Yeah, I've got another one as well. So I'll just
Can I just ask you, what would you advise people around your age about getting into Onpassive if they don't understand the internet? Like, you've never used the internet as in online. You've never used online work apart from your appointments and your Zoom. So what would you say to people?
I have used the internet. I don't, I'm pretty knowledgeable about computers, and I never had any problems there. I have a desktop computer. I'm not too knowledgeable about cell phones because we don't have any in this area. So, I've got a learning curve there coming to me, but I understand what you mean, Yvonne. If I was going to advise people my age, to investigate things on the internet and on Onpassive, is to start slow, and it's there for you. Do one thing at a time until you got that down pat and you can move on. And also, I think we ought to form groups in the different age groups that we can advise people what they can use of Onpassive that will help them with their church, with their places that I'm an odd person at my age. I'm not like, I don't have little clutches of women friends. I got friends all over the world. Don't misunderstand me, but I mean, I don't go to coffee classes and things like that, and that just doesn't interest me. So I know my daughter now. She does outreach for all of her family friends because she teaches Bible study, and she's in the Unity Church, and they have very active people, out. She takes communion to people that are shut-ins and things like that. And she uses Zoom, but Zoom is very limited, and it's hard to teach some of the elderly that have to use their computer to interact with their family and stuff. So she started classes at her church to teach them how to become more adept at using her cell phone and a computer. And so I think that that's the first thing for people my age, that if they haven't got a background in computers. They don't know anything about the internet, to get savvy, because the world is revolving around the internet. It's just, they're left lacking if they don't get that kind of education. That's the way I mean. My son still gets it. He says, Mom, all you gotta do is click over there. That's all you got. I go around, sometimes I go around the wrong way to get the same thing done. But I think that women my age, just sitting at home knitting just would bore me. I'd be taking up some serious drinking, I think, by the time I had to, I don't think I could stand it. You asked me, why am I working? Well, my husband had a stroke and a heart attack. And I found out it would cost me at least $5,000 a month for his care or mine. And I don't want my children to have to care for me when I get sick. And Onpassive is going to bring to me that freedom of never having to put my husband in a veteran's home, that he's going to be with me and I'm going to be with him till the day we die. And I can afford to do it, And so that was the big draw for me, that financial freedom, because I maxed out, I had cancer twice. It maxed out my health insurance. And I lost 1/2 of my pension that way from the state of California. So we live on a fixed income, and so does my husband. We have fixed incomes, and you can't get by on it. You certainly can't hire help to come in. You have to sign your house away and anything you own in order to get the state to help you with health care here.
I think that's amazing when you talk about that, because I think you're right. It's sometimes we have to sort of hit a semi rock bottom or a place in life where we go, what do we need to change? And if we just sit around and expect that other people are going to do it for us, then change is never going to happen. So we have to make the change ourselves. You took that on, at 81 years old, whether your husband was not well or not, it was something that almost you were pushed towards. And I always say that Onpassive pulls us into it, those who are ready to make the change and things like that. So we really appreciate you today, Willow. We do have to finish off now because we like to keep it to a certain time limit for our viewers. So we're going to finish up with the recording. We do thank you. We thank you, Yvonne, for being here this evening. Willow, I know you had to get up early, but yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I know that there's a lot of people out there, my age, your age, and those ages in between, and Yvonne's age.
Our age.
Our age. That will benefit from listening to what you have spoken about today. You've shared a great deal of your life, and we would love to have you back sometime. So thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Willow.